They're behind me.
What do you say?
They're all over there. Which way? Which way? I got a good one. Oh, did you get there? Not done. Hey, Cheryl. Oh, It seems like so long. I can't remember. Isn't that weird? Like, what did we do during this time? He's wearing a... I know. I really do.
I wouldn't take my picture.
Okay.
Got your back.
welcome to our annual spring concert. This is pretty much the culminating activity of a very long, busy, and successful year that we've had, and I want to thank you for braving the weather and coming out. It didn't look like part of the enemies were going to make it here tonight. Opening march was one of my old favorite marches entitled Queen City. Having gone to school in the Queen City of the Ozarks, we played that a lot when I was in college. Next piece of music is almost hot off the press. Elliot Del Borgo is a contemporary composer who's living and working right now on the East Coast. He writes a lot of music for bands and is a very popular composer for bands. And this piece of music was composed 2 years ago. This is his Festa. manners, and one of the ways we do this, we put an emphasis on solo and small ensemble playing. The students have the opportunity to go to William Jewell in late March and compete in solo and small ensemble competition. The students that get 1 ratings there are able to go on to state competition and compete at the University of Missouri-Columbia. And it's always my pleasure at the spring concert to present some of the individuals that have done well at our state competition. Today I'm going to present to you all of the students in one form or another that did go to the state competition at Columbia, starting with Ms. Edie Hockman, who is going to play a Vanderpump solo entitled Diamond. And she is going to be accompanied by her sister, Jessie. This is Edie Hockman playing Diamond. 1987, which was the John Philip Sousa March. That was one of the other marching contest selections. This is the Variations on a Korean Folk Song by John Barnes Chance. It gives us the opportunity to show off all the sections of the band, including the percussion section. I'm very proud to say that we received a superior rating at William Jewell College, and we received an excellent rating at the Ozark Mountain Band Festival about 3 weeks ago. We went down to the College of the Ozarks and performed at the Ozark Mountain Band Festival and received a 1 rating on the Gallant Seventh and Variations on Korean Folk Song. So without any further ado, Variations on Korean Folk Song. next ensemble includes the trio. The ensembles are limited at district and state competition to 8 or fewer members. Trio, quartet, and sextet are the most common ensembles that we take. In the last few years, we've had good luck with our woodwind ensembles. This is the flute trio, Vanessa Prom, Heather Ducker, Chelsea Reed. We play a William Presser piece for you, and they will play the first movement and the fourth movement. Libero and Asia, my sextus, the scout, and she'll be accompanied by Dorothy Mulligan. gentlemen, before we play our last number tonight, I would like to thank you very much for sharing your time with us this evening, listening to us make our music. I would like to invite you to come to our band banquet that's coming up tonight. Potluck dinner, all you can eat. Bring a little. It's at 6:30. It's here at the Commons. Watch us award our students. We can get, as we give the students the awards that they have so justly earned and they deserve this year. Our final piece of music is a rather powerful and profound piece of music, written by Vaclav Nelibel, which Novodel was a Czechoslovakian citizen, escaped the Germans in World War II, came to the United States, finished his musical education, and is now a composer in residence in Massachusetts. Writes very contemporary music and is a very popular composer of band music. This piece of music that he has written, the Corsican Litany, and I'll read to you the program notes. In many parts of the world, it was once common practice during burial ceremonies to have professional mourners dramatize the grief of the bereaved by means of loud and emotional lamentations, repeated endlessly like a chant. In some places, notably the Mediterranean countries, these laments were actually sung, usually by women who were skilled in this macabre art and could command pay for their services. The Corsican laments, Corsica being an island off of Italy, like Corsican deaths, were divided into two types. Ordinary, lamento, which is death from natural causes, and the vocero, if the mourned had been murdered. Now, the latter, the vocero, then became a song of grief so intense, so filled with pain, that it could only be assuaged by an act of direst vengeance. The murderer was accused and identified by name, and the singer solemnly swore to see to it that he who had murdered would pay for it with his life. Václav Novodel wrote this particular litany on a vocero that was actually composed and sung in 1775 at the funeral of a country doctor who had been murdered by his own patient. As I say, this is a very powerful and intense piece of music. This is Novodel's Corsican Litany. Thank you.
Let's just say we got a big call.
Good evening. You can't hear me sing out. Welcome to this year's annual award band banquet. This year, thanks to your efforts, it looks like we have plenty of food and everybody's able to have more, at least their fair share. So it's more than our fair share. Tonight is the night where we recognize the members of the band, and especially we recognize the individual members of the band for their achievements that have contributed greatly towards the success of our organization. Some students have made tremendous strides in this band, and some students have contributed tremendously to the band. I'll give you a very, very slight overview of what we've done this year. I know I don't need to tell most of you this because most of you have participated or have watched us this year. We started out the year by following our football team all the way to the 4A state championship. And in the process, our marching band played 9 football halftime shows, which is almost 2 seasons in one. Normally we only do 5. So we performed 2 seasons in one, along with the 6 parades that we marched, the 8 pep assemblies that we played, and including the jazz performances and our holiday concerts, we played a record 28 public performances before Christmas vacation. A normal year for our band is about 32 performances for the entire year. This year we performed 28 times before Christmas. And since then, after Christmas, we have not stopped. The jazz band has performed over 10 times, which is a record. And the concert band has performed 3 times this year, which is our normal amount. So we've had an extremely busy year. We've been out in the public a tremendous amount, have gotten quite an amount of public accolade. So I would like to recognize, before we recognize the students and their individual accomplishments, I want to make sure I recognize all the students that have participated with our group this year. I'm just going to read down the list as my computer spit them out, but I'd like to recognize all of our band members that have participated this year. And when I read your name off, would you stand and please stay standing, and if you could hold your applause until we get to the end and give them all a big round of applause. Starting out from the top of the list, our bassoonist and one of our percussionists is Beth Merritt. Our clarinets are Angela Collier, Carrie Hatcher, Damon James, Ashley Lofton, Charity Hands, Melissa Morris, Bobby Phillips, Betty Rice, Jamaica Smith, Jessica Smith, Tony Smith, and Heather Gibbs. Our 2 euphoniums are Josh Fletcher and Jake Kirkner. Our flutes are Heather Dunker, Jessica Erickson, Beth
French horn player is Angela Botts, and she was a percussionist also in marching band. Our percussionists are Beth Crowley, Penny Healy, Brent Galika, Joe Morris, Shane Suter, and Chris Stark. Our rifle squad from our color guard, Jesse Hoffman, Aaron Kistner, Rachel Morris, Alicia Sharp, Mindy Stewart, and Sarah Unterreiter. Our saxophones are Darren Davis, Joe Laird, Kristen Maddock, Angela Mitchell, who is also in the color guard, Ryan Odell, Chris Smith, Courtney Yoakum, Keith Houston, and Drew Crowley. Our trombones, Anthony Gibson, Vern Hendricks, Edie Hockman, Katrina Lockstrom, and Chris Kelly. Our trumpets were Noah Bond, Stephen Crowley, John Payne, Kevin Davis, Stephen Emery, Brian Gibson, Tad James, Stephen Kistner, Aaron Llewellyn, Christy Loman, Tanya Mosley, Brian Odell, Chrissy Olson, and Brittany Schreiber. Our tubas are Jeremy Fletcher and Todd Harness. And our very own band Grumpy was Mark Hill. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the I think it's important that we offer the positions for flags and rifles to non-playing members. That way, students who have not learned to play an instrument still have the opportunity to participate with our band. But they don't have the opportunity to earn a band letter because they don't play an instrument and they can't participate in other aspects of the program, such as music contests. So to recognize our color guard members, we have established a color guard letter. This year we have a small, but I feel very good color guard. And this year's color guard lettermen are. If you come up to receive your letter, please, Craig Bartlett, color guard, rookie of the year, is Holly Boyer. The next aspect of our organization, and the color guard and the jazz band are spin-offs to the overall band organization. But the jazz band has proven itself, especially this year, to be a very fine and independent performing organization. This year we did a tremendous amount of performing with the jazz band in all different parts of the community, from the retirement homes to the schools to the Chamber of Commerce, for the roast for Coach Tanuki. So they were seen many, many times in public, and this year they performed a record number of times, as well as going to a competition at Central Missouri State. So it's my pleasure to award jazz band letters to our members of our jazz band. Jazz band letterman for 1994-95 are Courtney Yoakum, very much enjoy honoring the outstanding members of our ensembles. This year's Jazz Band Rookie of the Year is Courtney Oakham. The Instrumentalist Company, which is an international music company that publishes a monthly periodical dedicated to instrumental music, has sponsored 2 national awards. There's an award for band and an award for jazz band. We honor our outstanding jazz member with the Louis Armstrong Jazz Award, and the award is inscribed in recognition of outstanding achievement by an instrumentalist in the field of jazz, as demonstrated through superior musicianship, character, and individual creativity. And our outstanding jazz band member is presented to Drew Crowley. Last, and I feel most importantly, our band program is, our concert band especially, is the parent organization of all the things that we do during the course of the year, from marching band to color guard to jazz band, solos and ensembles, playing in pep assemblies, marching in parades, playing in various community functions. And I certainly believe that our band letter is a recognition of a superior achievement. In order to earn a band letter, let me tell you what it takes to get a band letter in this organization. Our band letter is based on participation, not simply musical ability. It is my firm belief that the more participation we have from all of our students, the stronger and the better our organization is. We award points towards a band letter for anything that contributes to either the musicality of the individual, the musicality of the organization, or for the management and running of the organization. So students can earn points towards their letter by taking solos or ensembles to contest, by attending music camps, by attending other concerts, either here in school or outside performances, by performing outside of the bands, such as performing in summer bands or playing for their churches. Also, we award points for helping the band run. There's a lot of little dirty jobs that have to be done. And we have a lot of kids that are willing to help us run the band. From loading and unloading equipment on the buses and marching band, to sorting uniforms, to helping me put stripes on the parking lot so that we can march, to sorting and passing out music, to picking up and moving chairs, to setting up and tearing down after concerts. All of this is important to the organization because without this, we can survive, but we sure can't do it as well as we do. So we recognize the effort that the kids put into their musicianship and the effort that they put into the success of their organization. This year, our band students scored a record total of 6,413 points total. To earn a letter in an organization like this is a lot different than, say, an athletic event or an athletic organization where a varsity game, say, will play 40 quarters. And if a student plays in, say, 25 or 30 quarters of that organization, he can earn a letter. That's very cut and dry. The hard part is being able to participate in those quarters. But with the band, it's very difficult to say, it's impossible to say it takes 100 points to letter, or it takes 500 points to letter. So every year what we do is we establish the mean or the average of what the band has done and say that the students that have scored 10% above that average have been outstanding. This year it took 140 points to letter. As an example, last year it letter. And a provisional letter states that you have excelled in the band, and once you do earn a band letter, you can count that as 1 year towards your lettering. This year it took 140 points to letter and 133 points to get a provisional letter. I would like to recognize our two of the people that made it so tough to letter this year. Our highest point earner this year with 272 points, Mr. Stephen Crowley. And not too far behind him with 238 points was Beth Lamar. Spent a lot of time talking about what it takes to run this band, and I want to recognize 4 individuals who I think over the past 3 or 4 years have helped make this band extremely successful. In the last 4 years, I have not picked up a single piece of equipment that I did not choose to pick up. I have not picked up or passed out a single piece of music that I have not chosen to pick up. I have not sorted, collated, checked out, or checked in a single uniform that I have not chosen to do. The 4 individuals that I'd like to recognize at this time now have established a standard of management within our band program that has allowed this program to exceed and excel in the last 4 years. I'd like to recognize at this point our uniform manager, Todd Harness. Our librarian, Heather Dennis. And our equipment managers, Stephen Kistner and Stephen Day. And I would like to personally thank these 4 individuals for all the hard work that they have done for our band. Lettering, scoring a minimum of 126 points, are Keith Houston, Christy Olson, Aaron Llewellyn, Jessica Smith, The provisional letter is 56% of our band has earned a letter award, which is quite outstanding. I'd like to bring to you, before I go ahead and pass out the letters, I would like to recognize those students who have lettered in this band 4 years in a row. And this is quite an achievement. If you would stand up, please, for a Todd Harness. Stephen Crowley. Angela Box. Heather Dennis. Stephen Kistner. Melissa Morris. And Chris Clark. District Band Governor, Ricky Schreiber. Courtney Yogan. Amy Hoffman. Justin Reed. Jake Whitaker. Yvette Harris. Kevin Rowland. And same member. Again, it's my pleasure to recognize the outstanding members of the band. But before I do that, I want to recognize an outstanding group of the band. I made this comment to them private last fall in the marching season, and I will now make this comment publicly at the end of the year. My 19 years of teaching, it's been my pleasure for the last 6 years to be teacher, coach, mentor, tormentor, friend to this year's group of seniors. And in my 19 years of band directing, is without reservation, I say publicly that this is the finest group of seniors that I have worked with. Seniors, would you please stand up? Outstanding members of our band, I would like to recognize the one person who has improved musically the most during the course of the year. This young man is going to play, I believe, third trumpet, last year, about 4 years ago. All the way up to this last concert, he made it play all the way up to the first chair trumpet section. This young man, I believe, has made tremendous improvement in his musicianship and his playing, both the band and the jazz band, and our most improved bandsman, Mr. Stephen Crowley. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the person who is new to the band this year, a rookie, as it were, and has proven herself to be an outstanding member of her own right, thus earning the title of Black and Gold Band Rookie of the Year, Miss Courtney Yoga. The Instrumentalist Company, once again, has established a national award which has been in place for over 40 years. It is an award for the way we have the band programs that we have in our public schools today. Without his music, without his leadership, without his influence, we would not be here tonight. Our outstanding band member is recognized through the John Phillips Susan Band Award, and the award is given in recognition of outstanding achievement and interest in instrumental music, for singular merit and loyalty and cooperation, and for displaying those high qualities of conduct that school instrumental music requires. And it's an extreme pleasure for me because this young man started under my tutelage 4 years ago. Within a year and a half, joined the high school band and has risen to the top. It has risen all the way to the top. This year, John Phillips Susan Band Award recipient is Josh Beckman. joining us. Thank you for coming to our program. Oh, one other thing I would like to recognize, and I forgot to do this, and I would like to ask your help. We have two scrapbooks up here. Our historian is Stephen Corbin. Stephen has done an outstanding job for the last 2 years documenting the history of the band. In my ignorance, I was not aware of how much money Stephen has spent out of his own pocket. It's in the hundreds of dollars. I would like to thank Stephen by at least trying to repay him a little bit of the money that he has spent for our benefit. And there's a large white bowl up here on the table. Band students, we're going to do a little bit of a fundraiser to help Stephen out. And if anybody else would like to contribute to this, we're offering to the rest of the people. I think we're going to have something hopefully relevant to say, and I'll turn the floor over to them now. Seniors, thank you very much. 11 years from now, when I'm able to move on to the next stage of my life, I'll have this hanging on my wall, and I will remember you all. Thank you very much.